welcome to the show today. My name is Eric Coffie, and today we're discussing President Trump and all of the executive orders and actions he's taken recently. Congratulations on him and his team for winning the 2025 election, and now that he's in office, they are taking everything full storm and he's making a lot of changes immediately. He's not waiting until week 3. He's already slashed some programs and initiatives, and this is what everyone's been asking about. So in today's video, we're going to discuss that and more to see if, in fact, what's going to be happening with these small business programs. All right, welcome back to the show, and thank you so much. I want to start off by saying I've received a lot of questions from users like this one stating, hey, I would love an update now that President Trump is in office. Does this program still exist? I work at SBA and I can't find Jackie's name in our email list. So the first thing I do want to say to the response is that first and foremost, whenever a new president or new administration takes office, they have a chance to make what's called presidential appointees. And if you look at any new administration coming in, there's several thousand, I think around 4,000 to be exact, presidential appointees that they put into positions to help them make decisions for their office and how they're going to run. And so, as we may know, on a recent episode that I had earlier last year, we discussed the new certification program and how the SBA combined all the certifications. So yes, Jackie Robinson, if you look at her title, Jackie Robinson Burnett to be exact, it does say she was a presidential appointee under the Biden administration. So naturally, when they change administrations, she's going to move on to a different role. So that's why you can't find her SBA. However, to answer your question, does the SBA program still exist? All you have to do is go and look at the SBA's website. And on there, you'll clearly see that the SBA program still exists, including all of these small business certifications. But we want to address that because, again, another user says Trump literally just did away with all DEI departments and initiatives. Woman-owned, minority-owned are DEI initiatives correct? How does this still apply? Or was it just a scheduled short that wasn't removed? So it's interesting that we presume that DEI, which typically goes back to race-based, ethnic-based, minority-based programs, somehow are tied to small business programs, which are based on, one, your ability to, when you look at social disadvantage, and then economically disadvantaged. And then when you look at other small business programs like veterans, and you look at women-owned, they have their own different qualifications. So I want to first start by saying that DEI is not connected or correlated to the SBA programs. Those particular programs, particularly the ones that we refer to in federal government, like HUBZone, 8A, veteran-owned, WSB, women-owned, those all fall under the Small Business Act. In fact, I have the Small Business Act right here. And the Small Business Act was actually public law that was put into place in 1958. Now, what does that mean? That means that this law was put in place by Congress, the Senate, and the President. And what happens is there's a different process if you want to overturn it. So it's not an executive order that can just be simply swiped out with the stroke of a pen. It's more along the lines of someone's got to put forth a bill, and then that bill has to go in front of the House, they vote on it, then it goes in front of Congress, they vote on it, and then the President signs off. Not saying that it can't be done, however, it's just a different process for which it has to be done. So to answer your questions about everyone being concerned, no, these things are not related, number one. The other thing that people keep asking me is that, okay, Eric, they're not related, but he just did away with all of the DEI employees in the federal government. And so that must have some sort of impact on the small business programs. And again, to that answer, I would say no. And the reason why is because I personally never worked with a DEI employee, not knowingly. So I did not even know that the government had DEI initiatives because for the most part, when we talk about DEI, that was representative of companies like Walmart and Amazon and companies that were in corporate America programs that they were focused on DEI initiatives. The things that we teach on our channel are small business programs that are backed by the SBA and the Small Business Act. So for me, when I'm out and I'm talking about different small business programs, they did not correlate with anything DEI related. And in fact, in my opinion, what I believe is happening is that what they're referring to are employees that were hired based on some sort of non-meritocracy method. Again, I'm assuming, I don't know. However, when I'm dealing in the small business program realm, and what you do and I do as a small business is we speak to, there's 5 people that you want to speak to in the government, and when we talk to these people, we talk about what we can do as a small business, the value we bring, our team, the strengths of our team, we show our capabilities, and we demonstrate how we've had past performance and our ability to be able to perform. And so you want to write this down. So when I'm out and I'm talking to people in the government, the first person I'm speaking to is a small business professional, right? So we're speaking to the Office of Small Business, also known as OSTABU. Sometimes it stands for Office of Small Disadvantaged Business Utilization. So we're speaking to those small business professionals. I'm speaking to contracting officers or contracting officer representatives, or I'm speaking to end users, so people that actually the products that we're making, that we're building, that we're supplying to the government, they're going to be the ultimate recipients of those programs. So we're speaking to those particular groups and individuals within the government to talk about our solutions, our products, how we can help solve their issues. Other people that we're speaking to in the government are program managers. And program managers are people that run these programs. And so we're talking to them about what are some of their challenges in the past, where are some areas where they need help or improvements, so we can learn more about these programs so that we can see how we can help offer up solutions. And then lastly, we're speaking to people who are influencers in shaping requirements. And so sometimes for me in construction, that might be a person that is a building maintenance person or building staff or facilities manager, someone like that who is not part of the requirements process. They're not necessarily running a program, but they are the ones who ultimately had the problem that they pushed it back up to their boss. And so they were the ones that went out and did the market research per se to find out, okay, what solution can we have to fix this leaking roof or to fix the mold on the walls. So those are the 5 people that we're talking to within the federal government to provide and offer up solutions for our programs when we're out doing business development. And so for me, when I hear things like DEI initiatives, I'm very confused because I never went to a DEI office or I never went to a DEI employee per se. So I understand that when there's new changes in administrations and that things are very different, it can be confusing and it can be difficult and also it can be scary, right? Like it is scary out here when you don't really know what's happening. However, I will say this. Let's go back to 2023 because those are the stats that I have here. So in 2023, the government spent over $700 billion in contract opportunities. That is a sharp increase from what they were spending in 2022, 2021, 2020, 2019. So I expect that government contracting to continue to be on the rise. Last year, they also spent over $180 billion with small businesses. Again, we expect that the spending continue to be on the rise. And so for me, when we look at that, we say that the opportunities are even greater now for small businesses. Not to mention that the number of small businesses continues to shrink. I think that the total number of contractors serving the Department of Defense is less than 30,000. And that's a sharp decline from 2011, which is over 60,000 suppliers and vendors serving the Department of Defense alone. So when we look at the opportunities that exist out here, regardless of who is in office, regardless of who's sitting in that seat, the people that I know, the people that I'm working with, my teams, the people that I do business with, they are all very positive and they are all looking forward to another healthy spending year in government contracting, and they're looking to find out where the opportunity is going to be at and more of like where are the dollars going to be spent, right? So for me, I would encourage everyone out here to figure out where is the spending aligned with, as we've seen recently on TV where they're spending the money on AI development. I've got this report right here from HireGov, and it shows some of the areas that the government's spending money on. Like, for example, they've increased spending money in space. I know NASA's budget's up. We're looking at fighting cybersecurity crimes, and cybersecurity attacks. And so, what are the areas where we're going to be spending money and resources at? given this new administration and their goals and what are the things that they're trying to achieve. And so I think if you have that outlook in terms of where are their priorities in terms of the dollars, then it would be easier for you to figure out where you fit into the mix and the puzzle. But I can say this, for a lot of us out here who are minorities, we typically tend to operate in the same spaces, supplies, maintenance, construction, remediation, things like that. And so those things aren't going anywhere. We've got record heat, we've got record fires, we've got record disasters. All those things have to be resolved and worked through by people like yourselves, small businesses. So again, for me, what I want to say to everyone out here is stay strong, stay vigilant, don't be discouraged. Be encouraged that there's going to be more opportunities out here. And from my perspective, if they decide to shrink government and reduce the number of employees, that means they're going to have to give those dollars to contractors and vendors. So again, in past times, or if you're talking to family members, that may be a bad thing, because when they're looking at increased government, increased employee count, for them, because they're all workers and employees, for those of you who are business owners and small businesses, those dollars will then translate into more dollars going into the hands of people like yourselves. So if you understand procurement, you understand federal policies, you understand how to do business development, you understand the 5 people that I mentioned and their roles, or you want to learn how that is from our channels or anybody that's teaching this online, you're going to be in a position to win, because more and more people are frustrated or they're discouraged, and so they're walking away from the process, which is fine, because that leaves more room for those of us who want to stay here and want to make sure that we get a chance to continue feeding off this industry, eating off this industry, living off this, because it's a thriving, booming industry that's not going anywhere. It's going to leave more room for us. So I'm very encouraged for 2025. I'm looking forward to what's coming down the pipeline. I'm going to be tracking everything that's happening. And again, there are some of the executive orders that do impact businesses, and particularly in the federal arena, but those are things like different types of hiring policies and hiring practices, which is different from the questions that people have been asking me, which are, how does that affect small businesses? I want to take this a step further before we close out, because I think this is also really important to me. A lot of times when we are looking at the dollars that are spent with small businesses, another thing that we're not considering is when the government is saying that they're spending 23%, their goal is 23% for small businesses, when those organizations or agencies are making their goals, right? When they do the calculations with the SBA, what they do is they exempt all of the contracts that they've deemed that small businesses are not able to do. So when they calculate their formula, right, it's on a scale that basically, like when you were in school, if the top student received a 80 percentile, then that 80 percentile became the A, right? Not 100%. So the same thing when they're doing small business contracts. So ultimately, what does that mean? That means that when we look at the overall percentage of the pie, it's a lot bigger than what we believe, because ultimately the companies, the small businesses, the medium companies out here, the ones that are doing the work, the industrial base, if we're just focusing on the small business pie, it's a lot less than the 20 percentile. So that means there's 85% of opportunities that are still out here that exist for all of us. So even if you believe, or you're under the impression that they're going to do away with these small business programs, you're really talking about a small piece of the overall pie. And if we get into programs like tribal programs and native programs, and the piece of the pie that they're getting out of that, which is more than double what the rest of us are receiving, you're really talking about less than, I would say, 12% of the opportunities. So I'm not saying it's not worth fighting for. I'm not saying that this is something you shouldn't be upset about, but I would be cautious to get upset so early and premature in the process, because to unravel that means there's going to be a lot more things that are unraveled in this act, because again, the Small Business Act is a large program that's been developed since, like I said, the 50s. So to unravel that, there's going to be a lot more repercussions coming behind that, and I don't know if the current administration is ready to do that just yet. So before we get all upset, and we start making accusations, or we start deciding or determining that this is not the right move for us, let's take a breath, step back, and think about what opportunities do exist, how can we be a part of it, and get in the way of those opportunities so that you can be in line when the money starts to drop. Remember this, I'm saying it first, they're going to spend more money than was spent the previous 3 years. Watch what they do now. And so if you decide that you want to go into a different direction or get out of this marketplace, I'm sorry, that'll be your bad. You're going to look back and regret it because of your egotism, or because of your vanity, or because of your personal feelings on, who's in office. I'm not going to go that route. I'm staying with the path. In fact, we are meeting with federal agencies each and every week talking about our programs and how we can help them. So again, looking forward to seeing what's happening and sharing more content about this in upcoming videos. Thanks so much. Wishing you a happy 2025. And again, if you need help, if you like our channel, subscribe to our channel. Half of the people that are watching this are not subscribers. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you get more information on government contracting tips from me, your boy, Eric Coffie.